Welcome to Pi Art Tuition, a series of mini tutorials to help you get more out of your creativity when drawing and painting. If you've arrived here by accident and you were really looking for a mathematics video to show you how to find the circumference of a circle, you're especially welcome. If you've ever done any painting, you've probably encountered the fact that there are lots of colours of paint to choose from, and that mixing colours together produces even more colours. It's therefore good to gain an appreciation of how to mix different coloured pigments, paints, inks, dyes, to accurately produce any colour we want. We're going to start by talking about primary colours. Over the next 3 videos, we'll be explaining what are the 3 usual primary colours? What actually is a primary colour? Why are there 2 different sets of primary colours? When mixing 2 primary colours to give a third colour, is it our eyes or our brain which generates the third colour? Why is the colour magenta only in our heads? In this first video, we're going to be looking at a very basic question. What are the 3 primary colours? Well, that's easy. I can hear you shouting at the screen already. The primary colours are red, yellow and blue. Everybody knows that. Why make a video about it? Except they aren't. Yes, you've guessed it. Everything you've ever been told about primary colours is wrong. Well, almost everything. Yellow is a primary colour, but red and blue aren't. I suppose 1 out of 3 isn't bad. The 3 primary colours are actually magenta, yellow and cyan. But these are still basically red, yellow and blue though, aren't they? You may be saying. Well, not really. Magenta isn't red. Let's take a quick look at some everyday examples of this difference. Here in the UK, we have a range of household cleaning products which use magenta coloured packaging as part of their brand. The name on the bottle here isn't the real name, but it's a similar name. The products are easily identifiable on the supermarket shelves because their colour is so unusual. It stands out. Red packaging is more common and wouldn't stand out as much. If you're of a certain age, you'll remember Gerry Anderson's Supermarionation productions for ITC, Stingray, Thunderbirds, and as we see here, Captain Scarlet. Now there's no way Captain Magenta is interchangeable with Captain Scarlet. They're 2 totally different actors, as you can see. And anyway, Captain Scarlet's taller than Captain Magenta. Imagine changing the theme song to Captain Magenta and the Mysterons. Nah, it just wouldn't work. So no, magenta isn't the same colour as red. You may say, well, it's a type of red, surely. No, magenta isn't red. When we're trying to mix different coloured paints or inks to arrive at the colour that we want, we need to be fairly precise about choosing colours. And while we're on the subject, cyan isn't blue either. Again, you might argue that it's a shade of blue, or to be more precise, a tint of blue, because it looks a little lighter. No, this is light blue. Cyan and blue are different wavelengths of light on the visible spectrum. Light blue has the same wavelength as pure blue, it just has more intensity. Either a stronger light is illuminating the blue object, or the blue pigment covering the object has white pigment mixed with it to reflect more light. Cyan isn't lighter, it's what artists call a different hue. A hue is a certain position in the rainbow or on the visible spectrum. So according to the way that we name colours, sorry, cyan is not blue. Here are some real-life examples showing the difference between the two colours. There's a famous international bank whose logo until recently was cyan in colour. What you see here is a representation of the logo. Again, I've not used its real name, but you can probably guess which bank I'm referring to. And it wouldn't be as recognisable if the logo were just plain blue. And being recognised as a brand is extremely important. Still on the subject of the colour cyan, there's a German car manufacturer, I'm going to call it Deutsche Motorenwerke, or DMW, but I think you know which company I mean, which had until recently cyan in its logo. And the reason it had cyan in its logo was because its original factory was based in Bavaria. And the Bavarian flag is comprised of diamond shapes which are cyan in colour, not blue diamond shapes. So far, I've asserted without proof that the three primary colours are magenta, yellow and cyan. I'm going to provide proof of this later in this video, but first, what is a primary colour anyway? There are two different definitions or descriptions. The first definition is as follows. A primary colour of a pigment, shown by the letters P here, can be mixed with one or both of the other primary colours to create any other colour. For example, mixing yellow and cyan pigments would make green, and mixing yellow and magenta pigments would make red. Or we can say that a primary colour cannot be created by mixing any other colours. Now you may be thinking, oh yes we can, mixing red and blue makes magenta, everybody knows that. No, actually red and blue gives us violet, not magenta. Okay, well let's try red and cyan then. No, sadly that just gives us a muddy grey colour. Still not convinced that these are the primary colours and not these? Then look at the colours of your printer cartridges. Your computer printer can produce full colour documents and photos using just magenta, yellow and cyan. So these have to be the primary colours when we're referring to pigments. Now you'll no doubt have noticed that there's a fourth cartridge in addition to the magenta, yellow and cyan cartridges. There's always a black cartridge as well. No, it's not just there to print the text. If you try to print a colour photo just using magenta, yellow and cyan inks, the resulting print will lack contrast because mixing these three inks only produces dark brown, not black. You may have noticed in the margins of colour newspapers and magazines and on the sides of packaging, there are often registration marks in these four colours, and sometimes even the letters KYMC or CMYK. So printers use cyan, magenta, yellow and black ink. But professional printers call black ink the key, hence the acronym CMYK. Now if you find that acronym hard to remember, you can always swap the order of the colours round and say YMCK, which I find much easier to remember because it sounds like the song from the Village People. Okay, never mind, you have to be of a certain age. What actually are the two sets of primary colours? I mentioned previously that there were two different sets of primary colours. Well, I'll be explaining that in part 2 of this series on primary colours. Click on the next video to continue this topic. Or, as the older radio announcers used to say,
stay tuned to this station on your wireless for the next thrilling instalment of
Art Tuition.